KGVO Missoula, KGVO FM Frenchtown, AM 1290 and 1015 FM. Sports Talk Tonight and streaming online at newstalkkgvo.com.
Come one, come all, gather round the radios. It is Wednesday evening, Garden City, Missoula, Montana. It is light outside. I can see spring on the horizon after we get dumped with some more snow in the next couple days. But I digress, Denny. It is Sports Talk Tonight with Gurnsey and Bedard. Good evening, my friend.
Thank you, Town Crier. Yes, great to be here. Great to be. Especially, we got to be.
The British are coming.
We've got to be even more spectacular than normal tonight, Gurns, to make up for next week because we will be absent next Wednesday. Programming note: because the Women's Big Sky Conference basketball tournament starts on Monday. Let's see, that would be Monday the 7th. I want to say it's a week from Monday. Well, they took the last week of the Women's Big Sky schedule and said, rather than make you play Thursdays, Saturdays, we will move it to Wednesday, Friday, so you have that extra day to, travel, rest up, whatever. So the final two home games for the Lady Grizz will be Wednesday, Friday, March 1st and 3rd. Because they occupy this radio space, we will make room for them. So we won't have a show next week.
And you can hear them next Wednesday on 1290 KGVO on the AM dial and 98.3 on the FM side. We are streaming worldwide on newstalkkgvo.com. Follow us on Twitter at Sports Talk Back. Podcasts online at newstalkkgvo.com. Our phone number is always 406-721-1290. And Kyle was throwing out some Twitter statistics, and I want to say that 120,000 Twitter, 120,000, Kyle?
Here he is now.
Please, grace us with your knowledge.
This is why you need an executive producer to handle.
What are we talking about?
Twitter.
It's where it's at.
Well, I wouldn't know because
you don't tweet.
I don't tweet or twit.
I tweeted one time.
120,000
impressions,
reaches
in the last 28 days.
Yep.
Wow.
High school sports is a wonderful thing.
That is beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Basketball, it's that time of year.
It is that time of year.
Believe me, I know.
Kyle's traveling here and there. I am too, actually.
Oh, yeah. You are too?
Yep. Well, we got tournament in Missoula this weekend, so that's cool. And then Helena the weekend after, and then a break, and then Missoula again, and then we're done. I believe. And then
so you think.
And then it's track and baseball season.
Yeah.
And then it's Grizzly football season again.
Yeah,
so.
spring drills and then into the fall season. We'll be doing our third year together of maybe I'm assuming too much. I guess we haven't formally been offered a contract on that, but we should.
Do we even have contracts, Denny?
I had one, yeah. Of course, it was year to year. So
had? Is that a had?
Yeah, because it was year to year.
Yeah,
the year's over.
It could be very interesting again.
We'll assume that maybe we're doing our third year together, the statewide tailgate show, come late August. We'll find out, I guess.
Well, I hope so. And if we don't, Cameron is going to be mad. Because he thinks
kind of likes hanging out with the radio guys.
I guess.
I know a guy, so if I can help out, let me know.
He thinks we get all the chicks or something, Denny.
We hauled you back in here because you are. Speaking of dads, sports dads, you got a lot of divisional basketball. You've got to chase, not so much chase around the state, but you have to go up, watch a little of it, come back, go up, watch a little bit more. Right? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, my daughter plays up in Ronan, Divisional B, tomorrow morning at 9:40 in Ronan.
Okay.
So probably be out of there a little after 11:30.
Right.
Come back to the office, do a little work, run home, feed the horses.
Run home, okay, to the Bedard
in Florence.
And then go back to
Ronan. And then go back to Ronan, watch my son play at 7:20, which more than likely will be 8-something because they're they give them a little bit more time in between games for divisionals and districts.
Do they? Okay.
Yeah, right. It's kind of a 2-hour, so they should run fairly close to on time.
All right.
And then depending on how they do, we'll do it all over on Friday.
Crazy.
And speaking of the girls and boys Class B divisionals, like Kyle said, held up in Ronan. They start at 8 in the morning, 8, 9:40, 4 o'clock, and 5:40 for the girls. You got Troy battling Loyola, Eureka battling Florence, Ronan versus Libby, and Deer Lodge taking on Big Fork. What are the seeds there, Kyle? What who are we liking?
Let me see. Ronan is the 1 seed.
Is that just a coincidence that they're hosting the tournament?
It's just a coincidence, yeah. They're good. I've seen them play now 3 times this year. and they got some Camel girls, like 3 of them, cousins. And
I haven't heard that name associated with basketball in Western Montana before.
they can, when they're on, they can shoot it from inside. They can shoot it from outside, 3, whatever. But, I would say Ronan, Troy, Florence, Big Fork are kind of the 4 teams to kind of pay attention to.
In case anybody's wondering, although I suppose if you were wondering, you would have looked into it already, Missoula is not a host site for a state high school basketball tournament this year, but I'm pretty sure we got 2 of them next year.
Yeah, next year. Yeah, which that'll be awesome for the community, and I think Class B is here next year, so my travel will be reduced.
B boys girls.
I think it's B boys girls.
I know it was a double thing, but I wasn't quite sure how they were doing that. So.
This year it's over in, I think B and A are in Billings.
Yeah.
And if you want to look over to the guys' side, the boys kick off. They got games at 11:20, at 1, at 7:20, and at 9. You got Loyola versus Troy again. Deer Lodge versus Thompson Falls. Big Fork taking on Florence, and Libby versus Anaconda. And you know what I think is funny, and I think this is what kind of happened last year. 6 schools are both represented by the women's and the boys.
Yeah.
In these tournaments. So that's
and the boys is another one. Anaconda, Loyola last week. Loyola won by 3. Big Fork, Florence beat Big Fork earlier in the season up there, but Florence has got now 2 kids injured. One broke his tibia in warm-ups the other night down in Hamilton. So he's out, and then their point guard is out. But I think, I've kind of said it. I think Class B, boys especially, is kind of wide open. There's no real dominant team. I mean, Loyola's been pretty tough all year, but they've had a lot of close games, dropped a couple. We'll see what happens.
On a statewide level, who are the powers? Who are kind of the favorites to walk off with this and that?
Loyola's in there. Whitehall's in there. Shelby has been playing good as of late. Saw them early in the season, and it was early in the season, but they looked decent. But like I said, I think it's there's probably 5 or 6 teams that could walk away with Class B boys.
Well, and so get up there to Ronan. Let's see, 8 games on Thursday. Looks like 8 games on Friday and 10. Oh, who knows? Lots of games. Lots of games.
I watched so many games. I watched so many games last week. My head was spinning. Like, well, what happened? And then I'm like trying to remember. I mean, it's like, geez.
Yeah. You talking boys or girls? Let's see. Were there any co-rec teams? Maybe there's something there. I don't know.
8. 24 games up there.
Yeah.
So that's
and then Hamilton is hosting Divisional A boys and girls today. And that runs through Saturday. So if Ronan's too far of a trip, head south a few miles and take in some Class A.
And some the teams in the for the girls. And I hear we got the seeds here. Number 1 from the Southwest, Dillon versus Stevensville. Number 2 from the Northwest, Frenchtown takes on number 3 in the Southwest, Corvallis. I'll skip the rankings here. Butte Central takes on Polson. Hamilton takes on Columbia Falls.
And are you on the boys' side or the girls' side?
This is the girls.
That's the girls' side.
And Stevie takes on Whitefish. Now, some of these games have already happened today.
Right.
Stevensville gets by Whitefish 65-44. Butte Central all over Polson 58-19. Columbia Falls 55. Hamilton 28. So some of these games have already played out a little bit, and you see this diagram, this bracket. There's lines going everywhere.
Oh yeah.
Crazy. Kyle, you know much about Class A for the girls? Who looks strong?
Columbia Falls, I watched them play Sentinel early in the season, and they lost to Sentinel, but it was a good game, and they're pretty tough. So between them and Dillon are probably the favorites on the girls' side.
And if you go over to the boys, Dillon takes on Columbia Falls, Frenchtown versus Hamilton, Butte Central, Whitefish, Corvallis, Polson, and then Stevie played Columbia Falls already today. Columbia Falls gets the win over Stevie 54-51, and that is all the scores we have so far. So Stevensville goes into the losers bracket. Columbia Falls takes on Dillon tomorrow night. And looking at it again, Kyle, I know Dillon's always tough.
Yeah, they're the team to beat in the West this year for sure.
And once again,
defending boys state champion.
Yeah, they're tough.
Once again, if you look at the teams that are involved, it's a lot of the same for the boys and the girls. That started tonight down in Hamilton, and that will go through Saturday.
And Class C doesn't have a district like Class B and so on. So they kind of have a super divisional this week.
Right.
So that's why you have 800 games over 4 days.
And those, I tell you what, those are so cool to see these towns travel to support their schools, and the communities that host it do a great job.
I don't know if you see it as much. Do you see it as much in divisionals and districts as you do at state?
As far as
fan participation, or
yeah, I mean, I think they're pretty
great.
loyal.
That is
terrific. Class B down in Hamilton. I was surprised. Some years they don't travel as well, but this year, even to the championship girls game at 8:30 on Saturday night, the gym was still pretty full, and it wasn't just Ronan and Florence. It was a lot of fans that stayed over. Loyola, Anaconda boys played previously, so it was a lot of those fans just stayed over for the girls one. And they travel well. And I think divisionals, you're going to see a lot of the same thing. That when you're winning in districts, you're having a good season. They're going to travel, and they travel well. Obviously, Class C travels the best.
Oh, there's nothing better.
They just shut the town down.
I got
nothing better than high school basketball.
Oh gosh!
And then you got AA start next week. I went over to watch Sentinel and Glacier last night. Boys play, and that turned out to be a great game. Glacier won by 3. But and the Glacier was without their leading scorer last night. But it was a really good game.
Do you think AA kind of wide open on the guys' side, or is there
on the guys' side? Yeah,
it looks a little Billingsy right now.
Yeah, Bozeman, depending how they got beat the other night, but they can play well. The west side, they're going to have to get hot. I mean, between Hellgate, Sentinel.
What about on the girls' side?
Sentinel obviously is the team to beat, but Helena Capital was it? Kind of gave them a run over here last time after that game, and that was a 3 or 5 point game. It was close throughout, So I think Sentinel's just got to keep clicking. They keep doing what they're doing and keep going. They're down a swing girl,
sure,
but yeah.
Well, whether you want to go north or you want to go south. You can find some basketball. Hamilton,
I like it,
with the Class A, and Ronan with the Class B. So get out and catch yourself some hoops action.
Is Hamilton hosting a state tournament this year?
No state.
All right, so if I want to get in some high school basketball, I better go to a divisional this week then,
Yep,
huh?
I think the closest state's Butte.
Yeah.
Right on.
All right.
Well, Denny, hey, why don't we get ourselves to some trivia?
Well, we sure could. 721-1290 if you would like to be our trivia contestant tonight. We are brought to you, as always, by Fuddruckers and Happy Days Car Wash. Fuddruckers, world's greatest hamburgers. Whatever you order off that phenomenal menu, you get to top it yourself. You go over to those prep tables and have a ton of fun, or maybe try something a little bit different. That's Fuddruckers on North Reserve, $10 gift certificate. From Brent and the crew at Happy Days Car Wash, voted Missoulian Reader Poll favorite again. The Works Car Wash, a gift card for The Works Car Wash at Happy Days. They are on Brooks between Pizza Hut and Fairfield Inn and Suites. And I thought maybe since it's their last regular season home game of the year, that our trivia fan might care for a couple of Missoula Junior Bruin hockey tickets.
Uh-huh.
So I'm including those. That is for their final home game is coming up on Saturday, March 4th. That would be a week from Saturday. Puck drops at 7:30, Glacier Ice Rink, Western Montana Fairgrounds. So tossed in a couple of those too for our trivia prize package, 721-1290. Well, we've been talking about it a lot. High school basketball tournaments are tipping off all over Montana. One of the favorites in the boys' Class C. We haven't got quite that far yet in our discussion, but one of the favorites in the boys' Class C race again this year is the top-ranked Arley Warriors, our neighbors to the north. They would love to get to the top after finishing second to Box Elder last year. And you know what? You have to go back to 1968. 1968 to find a boys' Class C basketball champion from the Missoula, Lake, Sanders County area. Was that team A, Hot Springs, B, Sealy Swan, or C, Charlo? You got to go back to 68 to find a boys' Class C basketball champion from the Missoula, Lake, Sanders County areas. Was that A, Hot Springs, B, Sealy Swan, or C, Charlo? Gurns, I need a winner in the worst way at 721-1290.
We need a winner and no more winter. How about that? When we come back, Denny, you know what? I think it's just me, you, and Kyle tonight. We're gonna let people know what's on our minds this evening, whether it's wrong or right, or
all right,
or indifferent. And we need ourselves a trivia winner. when we come back. Sports Talk Tonight, Gurns and Bedard.
Here, Mike.
Now back to Missoula's Sports Talk Tonight on KGVO.
Missoula Sports.
Every second of every day.
Orange Street Food Farm, a locally owned and operated grocery store featuring the freshest fruits and vegetables, fresh meats, and a great beer and wine selection. And by Grizzly Liquor, located downtown next to the Iron Horse. Big Sky, big selection, and online at grizzlyliquor.com. Denny, you stumped the chump being me, but I think you stumped the rest of the audience out there.
I did. I guess maybe the next caller gets 3 guesses. I don't know. We're talking high school basketball tournaments, and the boys Class C, our Lee Warriors have a pretty good chance of being state champs, and you got to go back to 1968 to find a boys Class C basketball champion from the Missoula Lake Sanders County area. A, Hot Springs, B, Sealy Swan, C, Charlotte. We're still looking for a winner at 721-1290, Gurns.
Well, Denny, I hear that phone ringing, so maybe that will be our winner. Hey, we'd like to kind of touch back upon our special guest last week, Kaylee Ewert, a senior from Big Sky High School, came on the air to talk about her senior project, and she is putting on an indoor bocce ball tournament to benefit the Multiple Sclerosis Society. Bocce ball is a game everyone can play. We had her on. It was such a good show, her and her father. If you would like to play or donate or sponsor or whatever, give her a call, 240-0002. Should be a worthwhile endeavor. And you know what? If I had time and didn't have basketball, I might go play that thing too. We might have to get a radio show together, Denny, for that indoor bocce ball tournament on Saturday, April the 22nd.
Well, do we get to practice at all, or?
Oh, let's just go cold turkey. or cold.
Kind of like what you do for the show.
That's right. We're giving it up before we even do it. Anyways, Denny, you got a winner.
Oh, we do. It's our buddy Al Mueller. How are you tonight, Al?
Super.
Good. Thank you for being part of the Sports Talk Tonight family. We appreciate that. Hey, high school basketball tournaments are tipping off. We've been talking about that a lot so far. And one of the favorites in boys Class C again this year are Lee. They're top ranked. And they'd love to get to the top after finishing second to Box Elder last year. And you're going back to 1968 to find a boys Class C champion from the Missoula, Lake Sanders County areas. Was that A, Hot Springs, B, Sealy Swan, or C, Charlotte? What do you think, Al?
B, Sealy.
The Blackhawks, they took down Roberts, 70-60. So nearly 50 years since a team, in our area of the state. I think you could expand that out. I think Superior won one in the early 60s. You could expand that out, but it's been a long time.
Were you at that game, Denny?
Yes, I was.
Nice.
I was doing public address even as a small child.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Toddler.
And now.
Could I ask you guys a basketball question?
You can ask us a question, sure, Al.
Sunday's paper for the Big Sky standings for the men says the top 5 teams qualify for a bye because Northern Colorado is disqualified.
That is correct, yeah.
Well, you got 6 playing, so 3 winners. How is 5 byes going to play 3 winners?
Well, the way it works is the opening day of the men's Big Sky tournament, which is Tuesday, they will only have 3 games. The number 6 seed, 6 will play 11, 7 will play 10, and 8 will play 9. Those 3. So after Tuesday, now you're down to 8 teams, and so it's a much more manageable thing. But the men's Big Sky tournament is Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. They don't even play on a Wednesday, but that's how they do the first round because Northern Colorado was ineligible.
I got it. I knew you guys did.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Al. I got your mailing address. We'll get your prize package mailed out to you.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it.
Where was Al from, Denny?
I'm sorry. He's from Missoula. I hope I didn't make that whole thing up right now either.
No, that sounded.
I got it.
That sounded very well put, and like you actually know what you're talking about.
Because Northern Colorado, I think they impose sanctions on themselves. I've never really delved into all the improprieties that went on there, or whatever went wrong.
Be careful when you impose impose stuff on yourself.
Well, maybe they didn't do that, but I thought.
Well, no, but just be careful because usually, you don't deserve it.
Okay.
Oh, did I? Was that a Grizzly thing?
I just.
Anyways.
I just suspended myself for a week next Wednesday. So.
Hey, speaking of basketball and Grizz and Lady Grizz.
Yes, sir.
Lady Grizz, dropped a couple of tough ones this weekend.
Yeah.
They were on the road. Lost
hammered pretty good.
68-45 at Portland State and 99-69 versus Sac State. And the men were at home. I tell you what, the men have been road warriors this year.
They've been as good on the road as they have been at home.
They lose a heartbreaker on Thursday, 67-65 against Sac State.
It really was.
And then took care of business in another tight one, 85-82 over Portland State. Puts them at 14-14 on the year. Tied for fourth in the Big Sky Conference. Only one game this weekend for the Grizz and Lady Grizz. They're both in Bozeman. I love how they do that. I love how they do both games and make it kind of an event.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it very much. It was both games were really, really good here in Missoula a few weeks ago when they did it, when Montana hosted Montana State for that doubleheader. Lady Grizz unfortunately fell in overtime, and the guys kind of kept the Bobcats at arm's length most of that game.
How many times have we beat them? Like 13 in a row or something like that?
It's crazy. Yeah, 13 in a row, and you look at other freaky similarities. I think they both have the same overall record this year. They have the same conference record.
Yep.
That head-to-head matchup over all these years for basketball is about the same.
Right.
It's just nuts. But, yeah, Montana's won that thing. I didn't realize that. 13 in a row now.
And speaking of Grizz versus Cats and the beautiful thing that is, Denny.
Here we go.
I don't know if you've I go on eGrizz every once in a while just to basically to laugh at 95% of the people that absolutely do not know what they're talking about.
If for no other reason I co-host this show with you, I probably should, but I can't bring myself to do it.
Yeah, I do, and it's frustrating at times. But there was something on and the headline is Gregorak throwing some shade on Twitter, and he's got a picture of this yellowish M. It looks like a bunch of students standing with the Bobcat, blah blah blah, and I quote: "When you're dominating in everything, they love to say we are Montana. You were Montana. We are Montana State."
No kidding.
Yeah, and then
that quote is attributed to him.
Yeah, and then somebody comments on here. It's a real class there, Coach. Pretty sure UM and the Missoula community was pretty good to you. It all comes full circle. And then his response was, absolutely loved it there, my friend. 3 children born there. More wins than they will experience in a long time. Which that means to say that we will never win like we did when Ty was here, apparently.
Mr. Locker Room material.
Yeah, so...
yeah. Well, your team did win the big one of the year, but I think you finished 4-7.
Yeah, I think
you got a little work to do there.
Yeah. So, anyways,
and they've got kind of an assistant coaching revolving door going right now. I mean, I don't know how much bearing that'll have on things, but it's just kind of oddly timed stuff going on.
And you know what? And it's Ty is a very passionate coach, a very passionate guy. Loves his players. I'm sure he's jumped right in, drinking the Bobcat Kool-Aid and all that stuff over there. But you just got to be careful.
I would think so.
I mean, you just got to be careful.
Yeah.
And whatever, whatever.
And it's an interesting dynamic too between head coach and assistant coach. I kind of get the feeling that they're like-minded in a lot of ways. Like, for instance, if he would not have accepted that job if Rob Ash were still the head coach, because one of the main reasons he wanted to pursue that position at Montana State was because of their new head coach, Jeff Choate. But my sense is that if the head coach were a guy like Rob Ash, he would be standing in a corner right now, Gregorak. And then after he's done standing in a corner, he would write on the blackboard, "I will not diss my rival on Twitter." He'd have to write that about 1,000 times if so. But
Coach Reed, Reed was known to say, vanilla, vanilla, vanilla.
Yeah, which that ain't.
No, that
and it'll get out.
Sports Talk tonight brought to you in part by Bell McCall Ford. Great selection on new and used cars, trucks, and SUVs. And great deals on 2016 F-150s. Your locally owned low-cost auto dealer for over 100 years in downtown Hamilton. And by Granite Pharmacy, locally owned and operated pharmacy on South Avenue between Shopko and Big Sky High School. Find them at granitepharmacy.com. Denny, why don't we take ourselves a quick break here, and when we come back, we have ourselves, I believe, Chris Sewell. He's an MMA fighter. He's going to be fighting Revolution Cage Combat this Friday night at the Adams Center. We're going to talk to him and find out what that's all about when we come back on Sports Talk Tonight with Gurnsey and Bedard.
Sports Talk Tonight, live from the KGVO studio.
Missoula Sports.
We are back, Sports Talk Tonight, Gurns and Bedard, and we have the second time we've had some MMA stuff on our show. A couple years ago, we had Matt Powers in here, coach of the Dog Pound, to talk about some MMA stuff, and we are pleased to have Chris Sewell in studio, and he is brought to you, as always, by First Montana Bank, your home for free Centennial checking, plus unlimited cash back every time you use your debit card, online at firstmontanabank.com. Excuse me, Chris, the Bulldog Sewell, who will be taking on an opponent as part of Revolution Cage Combat this Friday night at the Adams Center. And welcome to the show, Chris.
How's it going, guys? Good to be on here.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's going good. You're in the middle of training right now, man. You got some action here Friday night.
Yeah, cutting weight right now. I started out 19 pounds over on Sunday, and I'm down to 6 to go. So be down to weight here pretty soon. Hopefully tonight or tomorrow morning. Weigh-ins tomorrow at noon. So.
Wearing the plastic sweatsuits like they did back in the wrestling days.
Sometimes I do. Yeah, definitely put the sweatsuit on and get after it. Tonight probably just sit in the sauna, try to relax, just because try to save as much energy now. Fights 2 days. Try to rest up a little bit. But yeah, fights Friday night. Doors open at 7. Going to be a good show. A lot of people were at the fights last year. Everybody says there's a great promotion. They got the big screen TV, lights, the smoke, the whole everything, So, and they got the best talent around Montana is going to be out there Friday night. They got 3 pros, a lot of the best amateurs in the state. They got Connell Powers here, fighting out in Missoula. He's a 16-year-old from Sentinel High. Right. Really good fighter, great wrestler, great athlete. Mm-hmm. They got Jesse Brown, one of the other pros that fights from the Dog Pound. He's fighting a kid named Daniel Aguirre out of Havre right now. So that'd be a good matchup. And then I'm fighting a guy, Jerome Jones, 11-9 out of Spokane. That'll be a good matchup. He has a lot of knockouts, so he's a fun fighter to watch. So it's gonna be an exciting night of fights.
It's amazing how much MMA and the UFC have taken over basically the fight world. I mean, I can't even barely watch a boxing match anymore. I mean, if there's something UFC on the TV, I'm always watching it. Were you initially involved in boxing, or how did you get into the UFC, or were you a wrestler?
Yeah, I grew up. I actually wrestled and boxed as I was younger. I started wrestling when I was 9 or 10. As I got older, I got in about 15, 16-year-old. I got into boxing, club boxing, and I really like that. It's a lot different boxing is because when you start at that age, you wear the headgear, 16-ounce gloves. Well, then when you get in the cage, you wear 4-ounce gloves, and there's no headgear. So it was good. It was a good transition, and I was glad I had the wrestling background. Growing up in Montana, I grew up wrestled for CMR in Great Falls. I had really good coaching, really good wrestling background, so that really helped me transition into the fighting world, I guess. I had stand-up and I had a little bit of ground game, so I sort of just molded into it. But like fighting, just like you're saying, it's the #1 biggest growing sport. There's so many different fighting styles that get into it: karate, kempo, taekwondo, jits, judo, wrestling, boxing, kickboxing. There's so many different sports, and everybody has their own different talents. So that's what makes it really interesting. Is you'll get somebody like me who's a really good boxer and wrestler, and then you'll get a good Muay Thai fighter, and someone has a lot of kicks. I'm gonna have to keep my distance, not get kicked, and then have to take them down. So that's cool. It just shows how it evolves in the sport. Like, even in the UFC, it shows like how one day one guy will be a world champ, the next day another guy will be a world champ. It's just the sport's always evolving. It's always getting better.
And as an outsider looking in, a couple things popped to mind when I watched that. Is don't blink, because you might miss the match. And the other thing you look at, and I think to your point, Chris, you kind of alluded to this just now. As an outsider looking in, you go, man, there are no rules. You know, are there rules?
Yeah, there's a lot of rules. You know, the biggest thing is protecting the fighters.
Sure.
It's for some of us, it's career. I'm a professional. I've been a professional the last 3 years. It's what I want to do for a living. It's how I make my living. So if I get hurt, bummed up, I'm not fighting. I'm not making paychecks. So it's a big thing. There's a lot of rules. Everybody's like, oh, it's barbaric. It's like gladiators. No, it's nothing like that. And we train to be safe. We don't go out there to hurt the guy. We obviously want to put him away and win, but we don't want to snap his neck. We're not trying to go out there and kill a guy. Yeah. We're going out there to compete to see who's a better fighter, to see who's going to be better and win. And yeah, I guess there's a lot of rules. Everybody in the old days used to see growing shots and stuff like that. There's no such thing as growing shots anymore. You can't be poking the guy in the eyes, anything like that. So yeah, there's rules. It's cool. It's like it's still goes back to just one-on-one sport, just you and him in the cage. There's a lot of other things, and then the refs around here do a really good job. When it's time to step in and call the fight, or do whatever they have to do. Yeah, like you're saying, it's quick. If you don't blink, my last 4 fights, 3 or 4 of them have been knockouts first round, first 30 seconds to a minute.
Right.
So it's like if you're blink for a second, it could be over.
Well, and I think studies have shown you talk about barbaric and what have you, but the gloves that you use as a boxer, 16 ounces, you said,
16.
compared to the 4 ounce, it's not the blood's blood. Those are cuts. But when you're a boxer and you use those heavy gloves, that's where the brain damage and the real damage occurs, correct?
Yes. It's been proven through science that those big gloves will absorb the punch into your face, and when you're using small gloves, you more glance off your strikes. You're still hitting with all your power, but instead of just them eating the brunt of all your power, it glances down the side of their face. If you do hit it like a clean shot in the jaw or whatever, you're gonna knock them out. That's just boxing gloves or MMA. But you get hit with those big 16-ounce gloves. I grew up boxing. You get done at the end of the day, you have a headache every day. And when I get done at the end of MMA practice, I felt great. I'm walking away smiling, have a good time, laughing. Like once in a while, you get a cut or scrape, or sore shoulder or whatever. And that's MMA, but you definitely don't get hit in the head as much as boxing. Average boxing fight, you get 100 punches a round compared to an MMA. If you get hit 20 times in a round, that's a pretty bad round for you.
Yeah. What inspired you to take this on as a career, as a professional? You must have had some success very early in this.
Yeah, I guess I competed my whole life. I studied out football, wrestling, played a couple of years of college football, and then when I got out of it, I had boxed previously, and MMA was becoming the big thing. So I was like, well, let's hop into it. I had friends from Great Falls, Tim Welch, Leo Brazier. They were already fighting. They were making big names for themselves. I'd grown up boxing with these guys. I was like, that's the next thing to do. And then as soon as I started fighting, it's what I love to do. There's nothing else like it. You get in the cage, and there's all those people. It's so loud until you get in there, and then you get tunnel vision. You get in there, it's like just you and him in the cage, the ref. And it's crazy. I can hear my corners in the background. Hey, do this, do that. And everybody's like, how can you, with all chaos and everything? I was like, that chaos is my home. That's what makes me happy. That's where I'm at ease. So, I guess just years of training just made me, where I'm at now, I guess.
And where do you train here in Missoula?
I train out of Matt Powers in the Dog Pound, but there's a new gym just opened up here in town. It's more of a BJJ, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It's Mission Ready Academy. It's over on Higgins and Kent right now, and it's going to be big. They brought in 2 world champions, one from Utah, one from Brazil. They came up here, opened up this gym. They're going to do kids classes, MMA, the whole thing. I see a big transition in MMA fighters in the transition to that gym, just because they got really the best talent. That's who Matt Powers got his black belt through. Brandon Olson, the best black belt in the state of Montana. That's who he got his black belt through. So that's why I'm still Dog Pound. I love Dog Pound. I've bled Dog Pound for the last 6 or 7 years, but I just feel that Mission Ready Academy is going to be the new thing.
And it's not just, Chris Sewell, MMA fighter, Chris the Bulldog Sewell, fighting in the Revolution Cage Combat this Friday night at the Adams Center. Door opens at 7 o'clock.
Yep, doors open at 7.
How many total fights?
12 fights on the card, full card. So
okay,
be some exciting fights.
And I was going to say, you do this professionally, but training this stuff doesn't just have to be for profession. I mean, this is self-defense. This is get in shape. This is it's just not. You don't have to be a professional fighter.
Yeah, exactly. We have a lot of people that come down that just want to be, have a commitment into something. Either being in shape or just being around the team environment. Or we used to have a huge kids program, and I feel that was huge because everybody talks about bullying these days and all this stuff. And if you really want to not worry about your kid getting bullied, teach them self-defense. Teach them that it's not right for somebody to come up and bully them. and then you punch them in the nose. That's, everybody these days tells them, oh, yeah, run or go hide or whatever. That's not the real world. You're going to have a lot of stuff to deal with in life. So, so this is a great way to get your kid. And just if you want them to have a lot of energy, you want to burn up some energy, nothing like going in, wrestling around, punching a bag. Burns up the cows, that's for sure.
Well, your work day routine, your work-a-day environment is probably a heck of a lot different than Scott's and mine, but it's nice that you get to fight in western Montana. But what is a typical, let's say, month for you? I would imagine it's quite a bit of traveling, and then you've got to book things and enter things and get invited to things, and how does all that work for you?
Yeah, I guess with the fighting, as an amateur, you get sort of set up your own fights, but once you go pro, you can still work on setting your own fights up. But I go through a manager. My manager's out of Seattle, Will Hammond. He's a very known manager, has a couple fighters in UFC and stuff like that. And he's really good at getting me on board. He's like, hey, these are the fights coming up. This is what weights. Can we get you on any of these? Just try to keep you active. You're not making any money if you're not fighting. He's not making any money if you're not fighting. So he's going to get out there. And for me, I like to train and travel all over the place. I travel Great Falls. I'm born and raised there. I train with those guys a lot. I used to go out to Spokane, train there a lot. We train here, 6 days a week, twice a day, trying to, if you want to be good at the sport, you got to give it your all. It's like everybody's evolving. You don't want to give somebody else a second to get up on you.
In a perfect world, how many fights are you fighting in a year?
Last year I fought 6 fights. That was a pretty active year. A fight every 2 months is pretty good. For big fights, like my last fight was for a title fight. They say for that you want to at least train 2 to 3 months for a big fight like that. So it just depends on how tough my opponents are, where my fights are at, how much weight I'm cutting. If, say, Friday night, I get done with my fight, I'm good to go. Next week they call me, hey, we got another fight, 170. You ready to take it? I fought back-to-back weekends multiple times. So, yeah, just try to stay in shape, try to stay healthy, and then when I get a shot, just being ready to go.
And I suppose, like you were saying, it depends on how tough that previous fight was too, right?
Yeah, definitely. If you go in there and get banged up, there's no way you're fighting the next weekend. Sometimes I've had fights where I've been my legs are so sore and kicked out from underneath, walking on crutches for a week, or I have a black eye or a couple stitches in the forehead or whatever. So you got to take time to let your body heal too. But like I said earlier, you want to keep moving, keep pushing yourself to get better. The only way you're going to do that is by fighting and knowing you're fighting tough guys. You can't be one of those guys that just sits in the back.
Is everybody headphoned up over there? We got a question from, I think Chris should be able to hear through that one before I push the button. Got it? Yeah, all right, should be able to hear that. Bob had a question. Bob, how you doing tonight?
I'm great. How are you?
Fine, thank you. You had a question for Chris, our guest.
Yes, Chris, hi. I'm a big fan of the MMA, and great to see you guys doing this here in western Montana. Are there any female fighters in Montana that you could talk about, and how are they doing with MMA?
Female fighters in Montana are doing good. We have a lot of fighters out here in Missoula, Montana. We have 3 or 4 female fighters. On this card, there won't be any females. Last year, they had a female ballot, but this year, they're not going to. But April 1st in Billings, they're going to be doing an all-female card with the best female fighters out of the state of Montana. So that's like, if you want to see female MMA, April 1st in Billings, in the Metra Fusion Fight League. That's where it's going to be.
There you go, Bob. Got to be in Billings the 1st of April there. How about that?
Sounds great.
All right, thank you, Bob. Appreciate that.
Man, we talk about all kinds of sports here. We haven't had a caller in a long time like that, unless they wanted to win something.
See, that's we're being taken out of our comfort zone. Last week, bocce ball, and this week, MMA. So I guess the more we do that, or we invent a sport that combines bocce ball and MMA, and the phones will just ring off the hook. I'll bet.
That's great. Hey,
I was.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I was going to ask. And maybe you guys talked about this when I was screening the call there, but Chris, you think about, say, a big-name professional boxer that might fight, once or twice a year?
Maybe.
What about an MMA guy? Is there a required amount of time you have to wait between competitions, or what is that like?
Yeah, like same thing with boxing. You get suspended after your fights. They have a commission come in, check everything out. Okay. Depending on if you're hurt, how beat up you get, the weight of the fight, how much you cut. Based on that, that's going to tell you how long, by law or by rule, you should have to wait for another fight. Most time, it's a 10-day suspension, up to 2 months suspension, up to 6 months suspension. Okay. You hear about it all the time in the UFC. Last fights, Holly Holm got pretty beat up. They gave her 3 months suspension. That's about average, you know.
Okay.
And someone that's a world champ, they only have to fight their belt once or twice a year to hold that belt. So, you know, they're not going to be fighting every 2 months like somebody like me.
Is that good or bad, though? I mean, do you kind of lose your edge, or you... When you're at the top of your profession like that, the higher you get, the less you can compete.
It depends on how much money you're getting paid.
Well, I suppose,
fight them championship bouts.
Yeah, but then do you see more turnover at the top of the heap? I don't know.
I feel that a lot of those guys, once you're world champ, like say you're in boxing or UFC or whatever, those guys have a lot of promotional stuff.
Other distractions.
Exactly. They have a lot of stuff that they have to do besides just fighting. And, you know, that's the one part you don't understand. Like, even with me, when, like, for a show like this, we're out there, you know, pushing the promotions, Facebook, posters, getting out on, you know, television, the radio, stuff like this. We got to promote ourselves. We want to be a good fighter, and we got to promote our fighter. That's, you know, Mayweather. He has his own promotion. That's why he's the best boxer in the world. He promoted himself to be the best boxer in the world. So, you know, like, yeah, somebody like him, he only fights once a year. He doesn't need, he's doing the promoting part of it. You know, then you get somebody like, in the UFC, you know, some of those guys in the UFC do have a lot of people wanting to take their belts. So, you know, they're getting called out every 3-4 months. They're going to be fighting every, you know, 6 months or, you know, a lot more often than somebody that's, you know, doing the promoting part. Ronda Rousey, everybody asks her, hey, why wasn't she back in there? Why is she not fighting more? You know, there's a lot of stuff behind it. You know, the promoting part of it, she was doing all these movies, all these other distractions. All of a sudden, she's not in the game as like she used to be, you know? So that's a big part of it. It's like you got to promote yourself, but also you got to put the fighting aspect. Conor McGregor, prime example. He's great at promoting himself. Talks a lot, big talk. You know, he likes. Everybody's heard about him talking smack on other people, but that's promotes himself. Also, though, you don't see like behind that. You know, he's doing the Reebok commercials. You know, movie commercials, all
flying here and there.
Yeah, exactly, and that takes a ton of time. And when you do a camp, you don't want your camp to move around. You want to be focused in. You bring your fighters in who you want to train with and be like, hey, this is where we're doing it. Here's our 2 months. They try to, you know, 8 to 10 week camp. So you got to stop for at least those 8 to 10 weeks to get everything put together. So just depending on how much you're promoting for the UFC or whatever, it depends on sort of how you're fighting too.
Who's your favorite guy in the UFC?
Oh, tough question. I really like Woodley right now. He's a 170-pound champ. He's good. I was a George St. Pierre fan my whole life.
He's coming back.
He's coming back. They just said it, and I'm very excited. I can't wait to see who they get. I hope they get somebody that's really aggressive because he likes to lay and pray, and that's sort of everybody talks smack on him, says he's a boring fighter. I love it because he capitalizes on stuff. You make a mistake, he's going to take you down. He's going to sit on you, and he's going to make you pay for it.
Before we let you go, Chris, what is your style?
Growing up, a lot of people thought I was more of a ground guy. I like to ground, but I was always the first guy. I was hitting him first in the face, throwing lots of punches, lots of big punches. But like, you should come out Friday night, you're going to see a lot of stand-up. I'm going to try to knock this guy out. Like I said, out of my last 4 fights, I have 3 knockouts in the first round. I'm going to try to put this guy away and make sure it's an exciting fight.
I don't know how you do it because I remember when I was a kid growing up, we'd be at somebody's house and they'd have a couple of boxing gloves. And you'd put them on, and
of course,
you know, you'd kind of go in the circle, you know, for about 30 seconds, and then all of a sudden somebody'd throw a punch, and then you're just, you know, no form throwing haymakers. 20 seconds later, you're just, I'm done. I mean, it takes a ton of work, and I know you've worked hard, and we wish you all the best of luck on Friday night.
Awesome, thanks, man. It was great. Appreciate it.
Good having you here.
So get out there to the Adams Center Friday night. Gates open at 7. It's the Revolution Cage Combat. And Chris the Bulldog Sewell will take on an opponent along with 11 other bouts, 12 in total. And we wish him the best of luck. And thanks for joining us. We're going to take a break, come back with Stupid and Steel after this Sports Talk Tonight.
Now back to Missoula's Sports Talk Tonight on KGVO.
Missoula Sports.
Every second of every day.
We are back. Sports Talk Tonight brought to you in part by Jerry Wessel's Tire Center. Locally owned Les Schwab Tire Center provides the best tire value promise. Visit them online at jerrywesselstirecenter.com. And by CHS Mountain West Co-op, Western Montana's source for Cenex fuel, feed, fertilizer, clothing, and tack for over 75 years. I'd like to thank our special guest, Chris the Bulldog Sewell. He's fighting MMA Friday night, Revolution Cage Combat at the Adams Center. Gates open at 7. And, you know, we heard where he works out. Denny, I work out at Access Fitness. My legs are feeling better. I'm going to try to get there tomorrow. It is such a struggle to get it started again. My wife's 3 days ahead of me, and she's already making fun of me and throwing sand in my face. I'm going to have Chris come over, give her the,
give her the business
box. And,
yeah.
No, just joking.
He was a good interview.
Yeah, he was. Good luck to him. Hey, you know what?
You can tell he has such a passion for his sport, and he's excited to compete in front of, not hometown fans, but at least home state or region. So
well, and what's great about having it at the Adams Center is there's not a bad seat in the house.
No,
I mean really,
they should be great.
Not quite as good as your seat, Denny, for basketball games, but
but they probably don't have that seat available for the MMA. I don't know.
Probably not.
It is time, ladies and gentlemen, for Scott Gurnsey's Steel of the Week. That brought to you by True North Steel, Western Montana's industry leader in quality manufactured and fabricated steel products.
Steel of the Week. You know what? The Steel of the Week was pulled off by a struggling NBA franchise, one of the best ever in the NBA. They've just been down on their luck for 3 or 4 years, and wouldn't you know it, they go back into the vault and they steal a new director of basketball operations, and that would be Magic Johnson back to the LA Lakers. Jeannie Buss.
They did a little sweep.
The owner's daughter, or maybe she is the owner now, fires her brother.
Yeah.
And then brings on Magic. So nothing like a little nepotism right there, Jeannie.
Yeah, exactly.
But you know what? Stealing Magic Johnson for whatever he was doing, running all his movie theaters and businesses and whatever he's doing. But you know what? Everything he touches is magic, and I hope that he does well. That's my Steal of the Week.
Well, and I think in a situation like that, you don't just get a higher mucky muck, you get an iconic higher mucky muck, which immediately it's going to sell more tickets. It's going to generate more fan interest because it didn't take people very long to kind of forget about the Lakers. A few bad years, and all of a sudden you're a nothing. Well,
that Lakers who?
Yeah, I think he will work very hard to turn that back around.
Yes, sir.
Got more competition now. All of a sudden, the Clippers they're kind of a force to be. It's almost like the two of them have reversed roles in a lot of ways over the last few years.
Yes, yeah. The Clippers, the Kings, and the Warriors. Hello, the Golden State Warriors. Yep. So that was my Steal of the Week.
All right. Steal of the Week is brought to you by True North Steel, Western Montana's industry leader in quality manufactured and fabricated steel products.
Well, and Stupid Athlete of the Week. Danny, there wasn't a lot going on out there. I mean, you could have called Stupid Athlete me snowboarding for the first time in 10 years at Discovery this past weekend. Although I went down, I made 4 runs, and I think I fell down 1 time during the run. 2 other times I crashed coming off the chairlift. One of them pretty spectacularly, I might add. So that was pretty stupid. Stupid Athlete runner-up Sammy Sosa, and talking about his no love he gets from the Cubs and the Hall of Fame and what have you, compared himself to Jesus Christ.
Oh man,
it was kind of interesting. But my Stupid Athlete of the Week, and this is a guy who has a huge future. And he's already starting to he's doing things that make you wonder where his head's at. And this is Ezekiel Elliott, rookie running back for the Dallas Cowboys. Just an amazing year. But, he came to Dallas with some assault allegations against a former girlfriend. Then he goes and buys marijuana in Seattle when the Cowboys played them. I believe it was in a preseason game. And then he is with his best friend in a bar in Columbus, Ohio, where Ohio State University is. And his friend gets arrested for bringing a loaded gun into a bar. And the video, Ezekiel didn't get in trouble, but Ezekiel's outside talking to the cops, trying to get them to not arrest his friend. I believe they did arrest him, but beside the point, why are you hanging out with people that can only bring you trouble? And it's just kind of disturbing, and that's three situations where he's been in that have not been good, and hopefully he can nip that in the bud because his future is bright.
Fun running back to watch. Whether you're a Cowboys fan or not, just the speed and the power and some of the cuts the guy can make.
We'd be happy to pick him up in our fantasy league next year.
Yeah,
Denny.
yeah, a real plus for the NFL. They're a little bit ratings conscious. Things are down a little bit. I think you get a few guys like that can put on a show, but yeah, you got to. And I don't know what it takes. Does it take a better agent? Does it take here we're going to hire you a mentor? And I suppose you go into a situation like that and think, well, no big deal. I'm not doing anything, but still. It goes on your publicity record, shall we say, and you end up in kind of an unfavorable light.
Yeah. Hey, some more Grizzly news. Jacob Yarrow, former linebacker for the Grizzlies, back I believe 98 and 99, was just hired by the University of Hawaii to be their safeties coach.
Wow.
Leggy Salanoa, who just became the defensive coordinator, and Jake played here, like I said, 98, 99. He's been coaching on the West Coast for a while. He is a Hawaiian native, St. Louis High School, and so congratulations to him.
Man, there's you pull that one out of nowhere. That's pretty good.
Yeah. Big Sky Conference Indoor Track and Field Championships this weekend at Idaho State.
Yeah.
The women's team has a good shot at bringing home a championship trophy. Head coach Brian Swain down there. Women's softball finished first two tournaments 4-5. Played some good competition. Got some nice victories. Sydney Stiles named Big Sky Player of the Week for her performance.
And they will be in town, folks. They actually have home games in the month of March. It's kind of on the back half, but University of Montana home softball, if you can believe it, not all that far away, Gurns.
Well, and the start of Grizzly Spring Ball, I want to say, Denny, it's sometime in that second week of March when the first practices happen. Spring game this year in Butte, America, Lady of the Rockies.
I bet you're going.
You know what? I pretty much can guarantee you that I will be going.
I figured you would.
Yeah, so anyways, hey, get out to watch some MMA tomorrow night at the Adams Center Fieldhouse. And Denny, we are off next week. I'll see you in 2.
You got it, buddy.
Sports Talk Tonight, Gurnsey and Bedard. We are out of here.